Are you addicted to dating advice? That sounds a little ironic coming from a channel like this, where most of my content is about dating. But if you find that you are consuming a lot of this content and it's become a habit, there are probably some things that you should consider. Now, before I go any further, I want to say that recently YouTube changed its algorithm so that something like only 20% of the people who used to see notifications for my videos are actually seeing them, even if they are subscribers. So if you like my videos and want to know when another one comes out, please not only subscribe, but also hit the bell notification icon. Thank you very much. Now, going back to what I was saying, I think there are a few common backgrounds of people who consume a lot of dating-related content. One group didn't have good models of what a healthy relationship looked like when they were growing up, and they feel a lot of uncertainty about what is right, what is normal, what's too much, and what's reasonable.
Hey, Tyler, you on your way to algebra?
Yeah, I'll see you there.
You're awful!
Men, we don't know what we did.
So they naturally ask about what they're not sure of. And there's usually a lot of overlap between the first group and the second group. The second group being people who maybe they did, maybe they didn't know what they wanted and what was normal, but they got really hurt in relationships and they don't want to repeat the same mistakes again. It wasn't that they necessarily went in completely blind, but sometimes their boundaries just got worn down over time. And now they so strongly don't want to get hurt again that they want to make sure that they go into everything with eyes wide open. A fool me once, shame on you, fool me twice, shame on me sort of thinking. And sometimes that bounce back from getting burned can lead us into an equally unhealthy perspective in the opposite direction. The opposite of crazy is still crazy, to quote Dr. Robert Glover. If you were someone who previously let yourself get walked all over, you might now have a really strong resolve to make sure that you end things the moment someone steps even slightly out of line. You might become someone who can spot red flags a mile away. You train yourself to never settle. And in doing so, you might very well train yourself to just never settle down. Because while there are things which make someone absolutely unsuitable for a relationship, there are also a lot of things which don't automatically mean that. Everyone has some red flags. No one is perfect all the time. Everyone pushes boundaries. Everyone has bad days and is a total asshole sometimes. But if you're so hyper-focused on keeping yourself safe that you decide that you're never going to take any risks, you also never get any reward. You become so obsessed with avoiding pain that you also avoid pleasure and joy that life will only give to risk takers. The fruit that stays on the branch because it's afraid of getting bruised if it falls simply rots on the branch and never gets to fulfill the purpose for which it was brought into existence. But it's not only about avoiding pain. If you compromise before in relationships, you might find yourself taking the perspective of never wanting to compromise again, and you end up looking for someone who is the best at everything. You look back at your previous encounters with different partners and pick out their best qualities, both physical and character, and you decide that you want someone to settle down with who's exactly like that ideal image. And sometimes that's not even conscious. Sometimes you just look back and you miss things you experienced before, but you don't have with this particular person. Now, I said that's not only about avoiding pain, but in some way, that's still a big part of the picture, or at least trying to mitigate an expectation that you're going to get hurt with setting a standard so high that no one could ever really meet them.
I'm looking for a man in finance with a trust fund. 6'5", blue eyes.
It's another form of de facto avoidance. You can say you're looking for a relationship, go through the motions of dating, but always having a reason why something isn't good enough, why someone doesn't measure up, even if they're a good person and are attractive enough for you to want to date them in the first place. And in doing so, you keep yourself safe from ever risking the possible pain of deeper attachment, but also safe from the rewards of deeper relationships. So when does this happen? I think people get addicted to dating advice at various stages in life, and it's not completely synonymous with age. I learned most of what I know after I got divorced in my 30s. Now, stage one is where people don't really know what they're doing, or they don't feel confident about it, so they constantly look to others for what is normal and right. They ask their friends for advice often, and they very often second guess their choices and whether they did the right thing. And while it's a natural stage to go through, there's a danger of getting stuck here, developing a reliance on everyone else, never being able to make decisions for yourself without asking your friends. You begin to rely on other people to tell you what you should do and also what you should want. And if this happens, someone might miss out on developing the most important, trusting relationship of their life, the relationship they have with themselves. Now, stage 2 is where someone learns some tools or principles or rules which help them move past that first stage, but they often still get stuck there. Now, on this point, I used to teach cold approach. That is how to see a girl that you find attractive, go up to her and start a conversation, and maybe line up a date. And I'm still connected to many people in that sphere, and I see many of them stuck at stage 2. They talk to each other about meeting up for day game sessions, being wingmans to each other. Times when they intentionally try to meet women and start conversations. They talk about having targets of speaking to X number of women per week, getting the reps in so that this becomes natural. But if you have to do that, it isn't really natural. I always said that for me, day game was the training ground for the times that you don't expect it, when you're not expecting to see someone you want to talk to, and then you get the opportunity to do so. If you have experience in approaching in a pleasant and confident manner and starting a conversation, you have a better chance of being able to do so when life gives you that opportunity when you didn't expect. And in those cases, it is natural. But guys in the day game sphere seem to be addicted to the tools that help them go from stage 1 to 2. Naval Ravikant once said, "The problem with getting good at a game, especially one with big rewards, is that you continue playing it long after you should have outgrown it." And these guys went from having no success to having quite a lot of success, so they assume that they've reached the peak. They get stuck at stage 2. They have something that works, and they don't want to let it go, even to go forwards, because they may not even be able to imagine that there is a forwards to go to. Stage 3 is where you know the advice and the rules like the back of your hand, you know what red flags to look out for, and you can operate pretty well in the world. But it's almost like you're a robot operating on an algorithm. You look for a partner like a box-ticking exercise, and like I said before, you may find that there is no one in the real world who can satisfy all those criteria. So you constantly assume that something is missing, and there may be a better relationship out there with someone else. And behind this is the same insecurity behind stage 1, because they're still addicted about the need to be certain about their choices. And so they can't let go of the tools and tick boxes and criteria that they used to build this perfect picture of a perfect partner and how they would meet them. And this translates to ending relationships at the first sign of trouble, perceived or even imagined trouble. They never really give people a real chance. But the way out of this, the 4th stage, requires you to make friends with your deepest fears, accept the uncertainty of life and relationships, and realize that you can, at best, shift the probabilities in your favor, but there are no guarantees. You learn to trust yourself, not because you've become such an expert that you can guarantee that nothing will go wrong and that you won't get hurt, but that you know that even if something goes wrong, life will continue. You will still have things in your life to enjoy, and you can find yourself free of the fear of making mistakes. You know that you're free in every moment, and you can choose relationships which are mutually beneficial for as long as they are mutually beneficial. You might strongly prefer that they would work, but you don't really need them to. So, where are you on that scale? How much are you operating from fear? Please feel free to share your thoughts in the comments. And if you found this video to be useful, please leave it a like, and also please feel free to pass it on to someone else that it could help. YouTube doesn't seem to want to do that so much anymore, so I rely on you guys. Thank you very much for listening.